Welcome to Mastering Your Financial Life, hosted by Judy Heft, the founder and CEO of Judy Heft and Associates, Financial and Lifestyle Concierge. This year, she's celebrating 27 years in business. In every episode, Judy interviews professionals who help others successfully manage their financial lives. You can find this show on YouTube, LinkedIn, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Google Podcasts, Stitcher, and more. Judy is the author of 2 books, How to Be Smart, Successful, and Organized with Your Money for a Better Today and Tomorrow, and her latest book, Mastering Your Financial Life Cycles, How to Successfully Manage Money in Every Decade of Life. You can read chapters of her books and catch prior episodes of the show at www.judithheft.com. Now, here's the host of Mastering Your Financial Life, Judy Heft.
Hello, everybody, and welcome. Welcome to episode 86 of Mastering Your Financial Life. And today I'm really thrilled to be here with Heidi Webb and the Honorable Julie Field, and they're going to talk about the Consilium Institute and explain to us what that is. So Heidi is the founder of Consilium Divorce Consultation and the co-founder with Julie of the Consilium Institute, and they are co-authors of Dissolution to Evolution. I love the name of that book. I think that's really interesting. It's not your typical divorce book and what to do. So I love that. So through the Consilium process, Heidi and Julie, they help clients create a roadmap to streamline the financial, psychological, and legal ramifications of clients' unique situations, because every divorce is so different. You never know what to expect. And Julie is a former district judge in the state of Colorado and also the co-founder of the Consilium Institute. So welcome, ladies. I'm really excited to have you here this morning.
Thank you so much for having us. We're excited to be with you.
Thank you for being my guest. So many people find that their financial lives are upended by divorce. You know, I think a lot of people sometimes think, well, if I get divorced, it's only going to cost me half as much to live. It's just one person. And that's really not the right answer. So, I mean, even good divorces can be difficult. So what is your unique approach to help people get it, right shipped?
I can jump in, Julie. Also to start, I think the Consilium in and of itself as a process is very forward thinking. So unlike most legal processes, which really are focused on a settlement and an outcome, whether or not that's a judgment or it's reached by agreement, it's focused on sort of the facts, the snapshot, as opposed to the video of life. And I think that Consilium really approaches things not only over a video and understands that things will change, but starts much later into a picture. So if somebody's 45 with Consilium, you may be looking at retirement as a beginning point. What's it going to take to get you there comfortably? And what does that involve? It involves working with financial people as well as attorneys. And a typical or more usual approach for lawyers is, they reach a settlement. They could be a very good settlement. But the answer is then now you should consult with somebody who can help you invest your money, figure out what you're going to do from here on out. Whereas we start in a very different place by saying, what does it take to achieve that end? What compromises have to be made, or what goals have to be set in order for you to do that? And how do we help you achieve that outcome?
So I think it sounds like it's a little different than other approaches. And how is it different?
Well, it's really different than sort of your standard litigation model, your standard approach that lawyers take. Lawyers often look at the process itself, whether they are in litigation, mediation, arbitration, or even a collaborative process. They're focused on the process and the outcome of the process. What the client really wants to focus on, and sometimes gets lost with that lawyer's focus on the process, is their life. And what does their life look like after their divorce? My job as a judge, I always felt, was to help families become self-governing after divorce and to be able to give them the tools. And what the Consilium process does is it gives the lawyers that perspective shift and those tools that they can then use with their clients to help the client and help the lawyer, frankly, figure out how to focus on the client's future life rather than just, okay, let's get to the end of this process, right? And so when we talk about relatively good divorces, that's usually from the perspective, frankly, in our experience, of the lawyers saying, well, I got a really good settlement for my client, or I got a really good outcome in court. What is good for the lawyer may not be exactly what the client needs or understands they need in their future life. And so what the Consilium process does is it takes that step back and helps the lawyer and the rest of the team. Our Council of Wise Advisors is how we refer to Consilium, which is the Latin definition, or I'm sorry, it comes from ancient Greece, definition of Consilium, Council of Wise Advisors, and brings together great minds that want to focus on the client's future: financial professionals, lawyers, judges, and mental health professionals.
Oh, so that was going to be my next question. Where did the name Consilium come from? I think that's pretty interesting. And, how did you guys, or you women, get together to come up with this concept? I know, Heidi, you're a divorce attorney. That's how you started. And Julie is a judge, a retired judge. So how did you ladies get together and decide, you know what, let's brainstorm, let's do something here and see how we can help other attorneys and clients, of course?
So it started a very, very long time ago. So we like to say when we were children, but actually we lived together in our early 20s in Washington, D.C. when we were both working in D.C., took the LSATs, the law boards together, and have had a journey that sort of was parallel in many respects over many years, and maintained our friendship all during that time. So Julie, you want to pick up and run with the story a little bit, or?
Yeah. And so Heidi was in Boston. She went into practice with her grandfather's firm, with her dad, and in her grandfather's firm that was founded in 1912, which is, I think, amazing. And I went on to a career in being a law professor. I was a law professor for many years, mediator, and then became a district court judge. And all the time, over all of that time, Heidi and I were having conversations, and our lives would intersect at different points. And when Heidi told me about her Consilium process and her innovative approach, I said, wow, you need to write a book about that. And I think Heidi said, well, I'll only do it if you do it with me. So,
exactly. Julie was going to drive that process.
And so that's what we did. And so we completed Dissolution to Evolution in 2017. And then when I was looking and thinking about what my next life steps were in 2020, the pandemic caused everyone to kind of rethink things. I was like, how much longer do I want to be a judge? And Heidi said, well, let's see what we can do in terms of teaching other people about this process. And I made her teach it to me first, and so that I could apply it on the bench and see if this is a real thing. And I did. I was a bit skeptical at first, but then I applied it and I saw different outcomes, better outcomes, just through the questions that I asked, the words that I used, the way that I focused on the future of the parties. I mean, I think I was a good judge before, but in family law, but I think I was a better judge afterwards. And I believe that the council and the parties believe that as well after I applied the Consilium process. In fact, our next endeavor is I'm working on a book for the Consilium Institute about a judge's perspective on Consilium, and that should be out by the end of the year.
Well, that should be pretty interesting. So, yeah. So who do you work with? Who are your clients? Do you work with other attorneys? Do you work with therapists? Do you work with actual people going through the divorce process? Who are your clients? What's your target market?
So, there are various factions. And I will say, I think, just hearing Julie sort of like revisit in her own mind the pandemic period, what for many people was a great liability, for us sort of was an asset. And partly because Julie's in Colorado and I'm in Massachusetts, we have been working remotely and with a video conferencing platform for a long time together to write the book and in many other ways. So when that happened, although we teach a mastery course and we do that in person sometimes, we also teach remotely. And that wasn't really a big pivot for us because we sort of had familiarity with these processes. So we were able to really hit the ground running. So for the Institute, what we really realized after writing the book, which we intended for people who were thinking about divorce or getting divorced, and we wanted to help them guide and understand and have sort of a 30,000 foot view of their own process, was that lawyers were buying the book and lawyers were asking about this. So it sort of begged the question of, it's great if people sort of want this process, but in order to really most effectively deploy it, we need to really teach it to people in a more comprehensive way. So the Institute is the creation of the mastery course, and then this networking organization that everyone who sort of undergoes the mastery course then becomes a member of the networking organization. So it involves attorneys, financial professionals, and mental health therapists who then can collaborate, but all will be speaking the same language because they all have the underpinnings of the philosophy that is aligned, as opposed to many professional organizations where people sort of join them, but they bring their own perspective to it, which is useful, but is not sort of creating a team of people who really, are walking and understanding the same thing at the same time.
Well, that's pretty interesting. I think that's a great concept that you came up with, because it's just so holistic of helping everybody be on the same page. It makes a lot of sense. It's something we don't think about when clients come and they're contemplating divorce. First thing they do usually is go to an attorney, or sometimes they'll go to their financial advisor, and maybe they're working with a therapist, but they're not all speaking the same language. I think this makes such perfect sense, because they're getting different opinions and spoken different ways from different people.
Right.
And this is a great collaboration.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah. And the Tapestry members, we meet twice a month. We are building a community with social events and, brainstorming sessions so people can problem solve their cases. They can meet other, as Heidi said, like-minded professionals. But every month we also offer an educational session exclusive to our Tapestry members. And so we bring in professionals from around the country to talk about financial issues, legal issues, mental health issues, and self-care. Because this is all hard work, right? And we all need to take care of ourselves first. It's that old thing about putting your mask on first in the flight. I mean, that feels trite, but it's true.
It really is true. And I think so many times when we're going through such a traumatic situation in our lives that we kind of forget to take care of ourselves. Mm-hmm. So it's great that you brought that piece into it, because there's so much going on. And especially if you have children, even if they're young or no matter how old they are, you're dealing with that and the financial aspects of it. And it's traumatic, whether you wanted it or not. Mm-hmm. So it's great to have.
Absolutely. And what I got really exhausted from as a lawyer, as a practicing attorney in family law, was doing, all the work and feeling like it was really sort of a successful outcome in many cases. And then having people say, now what do I do with my life? Mm-hmm. And I sort of stopped in my tracks and thought, why didn't I ask that at the beginning of this process? What is it? No one walks into your office and says, what I want to do is blow up my life. I mean, people are there because they're unhappy, but they're there also because they see that there's something more that they want, whether that's going back to school or starting a business or just being in a different relationship, are all components of that. But until you tease it out and understand really the underlying sort of personal reasons for somebody, you can't really get them what they want in their next sort of best life. And sometimes that really impacts a settlement. If somebody says they want to go back to school, that really can change how you structure a settlement, and it can really move the needle on getting a spousal support order that addresses not only the needs of your client, but also the needs of the payor, if that's not your client, in terms of curtailing the length of support if someone will become more financially independent. So you can really, solve problems in very different ways if you start asking different questions.
Well, that's really interesting. Asking them at the right time is important too, I think.
Yes.
So Let's take a little break here, and then we'll come back and we'll talk some more. We're here with Heidi Webb and the Honorable Julie Field and the Consilium Institute, the co-founders of the Consilium Institute. Hey there. I just want to tell you a little bit about my new book that just came out called Mastering Your Financial Life Cycles. And here it is. It's how to successfully manage your money in every decade of life. I co-authored this with my CFO, Liz Levy. And together we created this manual that's going to help you through every stage of life. We talk about having a baby. We talk about young adulthood, pre-retirement, what to do when you're at that age of retirement. If you're contemplating divorce, do you need an estate plan? We cover all of these, each subject in a different chapter. And I really think that you're going to find this so helpful because at the end of every chapter, we have checklists that you can look at and you can use, and they can be a guide for you. So this is a wonderful manual that we've created. It's available on Amazon. You can also find it on our website at judithheft.com/book. And we're here for you. If you need anything, reach out. I hope you enjoy the book. Here's another picture of it, just so you know what's going on. Here it is. And I'm really proud of it. It's my second book. And I'd love to have you read it and give me your feedback. Judy Heft, judithheft.com, financial and lifestyle concierge, celebrating 26 years in business. And over the years, I've learned so much. And what I've been trying to do is impart a little bit of this knowledge to you so I can help all of you become as financially organized as I am. And we're back. We're back here with the Honorable Julie Field and Heidi Webb, divorce and matrimonial attorney, co-founders of the Consilium Institute. So I know that there's, you have this council of wise advisors that you work with. And then, so how can people find you? Who can benefit? And then how can people find you? How do they know where to look? People don't know what they don't know.
Absolutely. ConsiliumInstitute.com is our website. And on that website, we do sort of detail the available mastery courses, which is really, our entree point. On the website also is a Calendly link where people can sign up for a conversation with us to learn more about how the Consilium Institute can serve them best. We've created sort of bespoke courses in law firms where we go to the firm and sort of train up a family law practice section. We also offer, as I said, I think previously, remote trainings online, which are listed on the website, so people can sign up directly for those if they want to do that. And we detail the course, which really is based on a couple of different philosophies, one being primarily psychological and one being more of a business remodeling process. And the tenets of the process are described on the website.
And if someone is a client who's looking for a Consilium practitioner, Consilium trained attorney, they can find those on our website as well. So the folks around the country that have taken the mastery course, who are members of the Tapestry, who are working with that Council of Wise as one of those Council of Wise advisors, those are listed and their backgrounds are listed and contact information are listed on our website as well. So both the professionals that are looking to become Consilium practitioners in the fields of law, financial, or mental health, and the clients that want to get those specialized services. Maybe they've read our book. Maybe they're like, where can I find someone who thinks this way? All of that is on our website, consiliuminstitute.com.
Well, that's great. So
I also feel like,
go ahead.
Sorry. I was just going to say, I'd be remiss if we didn't talk a little bit about the Consilium consultant role, which is another component of what I've done for many years and what we've now trained other people to do, is a role of somebody who really stays on the case and helps navigate it with you from the get-go before you've hired a lawyer, helps you understand various processes, how you would want to proceed. And it's an interesting thing. I sort of equate it almost to like people didn't know they needed a toothbrush until it was created. And the Consilium consultant's sort of like that too. It's very rare when I talk to people at that initial stage and they say, yeah, no, I don't think it's necessary, because it makes so much sense. All of a sudden you feel like there's clarity and there's priorities and there's goals and they have an understanding and they're informed consumers and they're not just hiring who their sister-in-law said was pretty good, or their hairdresser or whoever, but they really understand their needs and how they can proceed. And it's someone who sort of has their back throughout the entire process, who's a very seasoned attorney of their own, not just someone who's sort of, well-meaning and maybe divorced themselves, but not really trained at a very high level in what's involved in going forward and restructuring your life and your families.
Well, that's so important because every situation is completely different. Every divorce is different.
Totally.
Every person is different. So it's great to have someone that really understands it from, like you said, from the get-go. But I want to hear a little bit about your book, Dissolution to Evolution, because I love the name and it sounds pretty interesting to me. So let me hear about it.
You're going to take it away, Jules?
Sure. What it does is it lays out the 7 steps of the Consilium process, so that people understand what they can expect if they go to a Consilium practitioner, or what they can ask for if they are going into a lawyer's office and someone who's not Consilium trained, to say, okay, this is the route that I want to take, and this is the goal that I want to achieve. So it helps clients to become empowered with their attorneys, and even if they are not going to a Consilium practitioner, but to be able to take that information to an attorney and say, here's what I want. Our goal is to have every client want a Consilium practitioner, that's what they ask for around the country. The book, has case examples. It's got worksheets. It's got workbooks. It's got examples of things that people can write out themselves to make their plan and to help them focus on their goals. So it really is a workbook for clients, and one, as Heidi said, that we intended for clients, but then lawyers started picking it up and using it. And hopefully in part because clients were asking for it. The clients need this, whether they know to ask for it or not. It's what they want. In my experience over the years as a law professor teaching family law and helping law students handle clients in very challenging situations, including domestic violence, in being a judge and being a mediator, is that people want something better. As Heidi said, that's why they come for a divorce. They want something different. They expect something better, but they sometimes have a hard time envisioning what that is. And what the Consilium process does, and the Consilium approach, is it takes a very thoughtful, measured, strategic approach to help people set those goals for themselves for that post-divorce process.
Well, thank you. Thanks for explaining. Go ahead.
Yeah, no, I was just going to say, for both lawyers and clients, it creates a lot of clarity. And I think that, when it's distilled in a digestible way, it makes everybody, it sort of reduces the anxiety. There's always anxiety, but it reduces the level of stress in the process, because for most individuals going through divorce, it's the first time. And it's like going to Italy and not speaking Italian. And, all these things are thrown at you, and lawyers, it's the world they live in, so they're not used to translating it. So there's a sort of miscommunication from the very beginning, often, between the languages being spoken. And oftentimes individuals feel alienated from their lawyers because they're not even sure that they're working for them. And the lawyers feel frustrated because they feel like, of course I'm working for them, but why don't they understand that? So I think, creating sort of a more level playing field in terms of just understanding one another is key. And I think one of the things we did in the book, in an attempt to do that, is we created case scenarios that Julie mentioned, but by each process. When is it appropriate to mediate? When is it appropriate to litigate? When is it appropriate to have a collaborative approach? So we give examples of different scenarios, and people can sort of put themselves in that position, and have checklists and things at the end to say, is there trust? Is there, betrayal? Like, what are the issues involved here? And is there enough to engage in one of these processes in a way that will make me feel like I've gotten the best outcome I could hope for?
That's great. This was a fantastic discussion. I really think it was so interesting to hear about the Consilium Institute and both of you, your journeys and the book. And you have so much to offer. I hope a lot of listeners will check out your website. So how can I know that you mentioned your website and they can find you there. And how else can they find you?
So if they want more information about our ongoing activities, they can sign up for our Bold Threads newsletter. They can do that through the website, consiliuminstitute.com. Heidi is a very prolific blog writer, and she does a lot of great reflections on life and how it impacts someone who's going through the divorce process. So that's another piece that folks can have available to them. If they want to email us directly, you can reach both of us at founders@consiliuminstitute.com as an email, founders@consiliuminstitute.com. And there's a Calendly link. I can't say that really well this morning.
It's a funny word.
It is on our website, so they can sign up for a short conversation to meet us and chat with us. And we love talking with people about how we're changing the world of divorce.
That sounds great. And I
I'll
know
add
that you're
one more.
I was going to say you're both on LinkedIn. They can find you there.
Absolutely.
Yes, you can find us on LinkedIn. They can join sort of the Consilium Institute LinkedIn page, and we promote and talk about upcoming events for attorneys in Boston area. We're having a consultant introduction event on the 18th of July. Information will be on LinkedIn about that. We also have a nascent YouTube channel. Unlike you, we don't have 86 podcast episodes. There are a few on there so far, but there is a Consilium Institute YouTube channel as well. So people can hear from people who are Consilium trained or authors talking about how this process has impacted them.
Well, this was great. Thank you so much. I wish I knew you 20 years ago when I got divorced or knew about the Consilium Institute.
Thank you.
Yeah, that's behind me now, so it's okay. But it's good to know about for
you've
future.
You've done it on your own. Judy, I'll just add this one thing because I think it is important. And Julie talked about this as well a little bit in terms of giving that clear path to attorneys. And I think it's the methodology and the strategy and the ability to implement it in every case that makes Consilium really unique, as opposed to a one-off, like, yeah, this worked well, but it's a way that you can, just like any other sort of planned process, you can check in and understand and see sort of what your benchmarks are as you're moving along. And I think that's really helpful to everybody.
Thank you. That's great. Thank you so much. I really enjoyed our conversation today. Look forward to talking to you more.
Thank you so much for having us.
Thank you so much.
My pleasure.
Thank you for tuning into Mastering Your Financial Life, hosted by Judy Heft. You can read chapters of her books and catch prior episodes of the show at www.judithheft.com. Thank you for your positive comments and sharing this show with others.